Well, we had done a lot of planning and stuff together ahead of time, and we just were kind of ready for a change to do something different. And I had actually, in my other district, had kind of dreamed about doing this. I talked to another teacher who I was pretty compatible with and had a lot of the same ideas with, and we. I kind of talked about if we only had some space, and then it kind of came open here where a couple of second grade teachers started it, and so we thought, well, if they can do, maybe it could be possible, and then we started kind of dreaming about how we could make it work with the space and everything.
You know what? When I approached my co-teacher, we were really looking for something different to try. When you are in your own classroom for so long, I think you get into a rut or a routine, and it's nice to break out. And we had done a little bit of sampling where we switched each other's classes for things, and it really worked out well. And so we approached our then administrator and said, hey, what about this idea of having a double classroom and co-teaching? And he was open to it, and so it was something new to try. You know, we, like I said, sampled in it a little bit, but it was something new. So,
well, for one, teaching just really feels like an island most of the time, like you're in it alone, and so it's nice just to have somebody else in the room that sees kind of some things that you're going through and some of the students that you are dealing with, and especially if you have difficult students, it gives you another person that you can kind of bounce ideas with. Okay, so what should we do with this? How could we help the student? You know, sharing, we split kind of the curriculum, like I teach reading, she teaches writing, we share off and on math. She teaches social studies, I teach science, so kind of the reduction in planning time. One's teaching, the other one's managing, and so there are some benefits to having that too.
I think of all of the small group instruction we can have, all of the one-on-one we can have. I think when one of us is just doing the main instruction, the other one is doing that classroom management discipline piece that you don't have when you're a traditional classroom teacher by yourself. So I feel like there are far more positives than there are negatives. One of the things that we have found is that routine and structure are paramount. I think that parents, community members, when they hear double classroom, they hear 51 kids, they automatically think that it's chaos, that we just have kids doing whatever. But we have a structure, we have a routine that we have every day, it's posted for kids to see, and we follow that routine. So that routine is a really big part of it, that we have the same expectations, we make our expectations clear, we're very consistent with those, and I just think it's like a traditional classroom. It just has more kids and 2 teachers. So, but I think, again, I go back to my co-teacher and I have very similar management styles, so I think that we mesh pretty well together.
Usually whatever subject we're teaching, we grade. So I do most of the grading for reading, she does all of the grading for writing. Whoever's teaching math at that time teaches or grades the math at that for that unit that time. We have five. We totally rely on our resource room teachers to help, especially with the more challenging students, and they are wonderful to work with, and we could not do it without them. And so constantly, and it's usually really both of us that are collaborating with the resource room teacher. It's not just, well, you're on my official list, so I'm just going to talk with you. So we really treat every kid like they're our own, whether they're on our class list or not.
In your classroom.
You know, I actually really like it because there's times when, like, if I might be like toying between maybe this approach or this approach, I go to my co-teacher and say, what do you think? And she'll be like, well, this is what I think. And I'm like, okay. And I might even go with one of my ideas or maybe tweak it and use some of her ideas. I actually love it. I don't feel like it's, oh, that person's watching me. I have to be on my A game. I really feel like it's a great person to run my ideas off from. I think, too, which helps my co-teaching situation is that we're both similar in our personalities and teaching styles and classroom management. So I think we're a good fit. But I don't feel that it's somebody watching me or judging me. That I feel like it's a great person to run ideas by.
We haven't found any yet, if there are. I mean, we're in year 5 and haven't, I mean, of course, ideally we'd like to have 26 students and do this, but
we just talk them out. I mean, I think, too, that not only do we have similar classroom management styles, discipline kind of thing, I think that we're very similar in our own personal lives, which really helps us, talk things through and be like, hey, this is what I was thinking. Yeah, me too. This. So just talk it out. you know. But life is so busy too that sometimes it's like conflict. Okay, on we go, you know. So, but we don't really. I mean, honestly, we're very similar. So, I can't think of more than 2 or 3 times that we've had issues that we haven't been able to resolve and talk through. We are very similar. I think we're both equal on that. I will say I think I'm more of the, hey, let's do movement breaks and pull out the songs and the dance, and I think she's more reserved because I think she thinks she's not artistic. And I think I'm not artistic either, but I don't really care because the kids like those movement breaks and we have fun. So we're different that way. But I think in terms of disciplinarians, we're both very on par. What we will tolerate and what we expect. So
It's just it's fun to have shared experiences that we can, you know, pull out, you know, like we had a student once who we used socks to erase our whiteboards, and we had a boy miss the first week of school, and so he missed the whole explanation. So I told the students to get out their whiteboards and their socks, and there he was standing there with his sock off. And so it's fun, like I couldn't totally laugh at the kid right then in front of him, so it was fun to go over to Danielle, like, look at that right there, you know. And some things you just have to experience at the same time, you know, and silly things like that. But
our first year of co-teaching, we were standing there talking, and a student came up and said to my co-teacher, "Can I use the restroom?" And before my co-teacher could answer, this person passed some gas quite loudly. And my co-teacher turns with a total serious face and says, "We were going to tell you yes. You didn't have to prove to us that you had to go to the bathroom." It was very funny. It was the perfect line at the perfect time. And I thought, oh my word. So it's funny, but it's funny to have somebody to share those stories with, because I go home and tell my husband, and he's like, yeah, that's funny. And I'm like, I guess she had to be there. I guess she had to be in the moment, you know. But when you're in that moment, I can look and go, can you believe that? You know, so it's, that's one of many, I'm sure. But that's one that just sticks out right away. So I really, really do like co-teaching. And I think that we have an administrator who's very supportive. I think that the administrator sees those things that we can do that you can't always do in a traditional classroom, like pull those small groups, even in the middle of an instruction, or working one-on-one, or those disciplinary, you know, addressing those management pieces when the other person's doing direct instruction. So I do think that that really helps a lot. So we've got a lot of support from parents. Previous parents have come back and said, oh, you know, I was really unsure about coming into this room, and, you know, the number overwhelmed me, but when I come in and I see how it's run, and, you know, I see what my students are getting from it, it really does, that makes us feel good that, you know, what we're doing is making a difference. So
Yeah.